habit. You kept acting like you were scared of snakes. So I had to make sure that you had the authority to put your hand on it. I know y'all are saved down here. I'm in the Bible Belt. But for those of y'all who weren't saved all along, you remember a movie called Indiana Jones. And Indiana Jones was in fact portrayed by Harrison Ford. And Harrison Ford had an imminent fear of snakes. But here it is. In order for him to get to the treasure, he had to go through the snakes first. He backed up and says, I don't want to deal with this. But he understood, I got to go through this in order to get to the thing that has been hidden from me. Ladies and gentlemen, can I suggest to somebody who's in the room, this is your last season dealing with snakes. God says, I got to get you to a place, watch this, where you understand that just because I'm saved don't mean I'm soft. I'm going to have to start checking some people and putting some people in place who feel like they can just disrespect me because I'm a man or a woman of God. I got to grab them by the tail. I can't hear nobody, and let them know I'm at a place. This is the last thing blocking me from my treasure. He said, grab it by the tail. And I don't know if I told you, I'm talking about Moses. Says I'm going to use you when there's a rumor out about you. I'm going to use you when some things have been said. Because I still don't know how them people found out. I know he did it, but nobody has exhumed to examine the body, so we can't convict them because there's still reasonable doubt. So he's moving with a shroud. Before going to seminary, I went to Duke Law School, so I'm a law school dropout. So I got a lot of people's court frustrated inside of me. So Moses is not a good example for me, for the letter of the law, but not the spirit of the law, for reasonable doubt. I got another candidate named Joseph. And Joseph is convicted and goes to jail. And you all have heard this narrative backwards and forward. Anybody who graduated from Sunday school, you know this story about Joseph, that he rises up to become Secretary of Agriculture. And here's what's bothered me about that text for the last 2 years. What's bothered me about that text is he comes out and becomes Secretary of Agriculture, but nowhere does it ever say his record got expunged. Potiphar's wife never shows up to admit she was lying. Oh my God, no, nowhere is he vindicated. But he does his work, here it is, without ever addressing it. Says y'all can think what you want to think. What y'all's opinion of me really don't matter. I know who my Redeemer is. So y'all can expend all your time trying to, in fact, figure out whether I slept with her or not. That is not my assignment. My assignment is I got some people who need to be fed. My assignment is there's some people who are not prepared for this recession. There's some people who getting ready to lose their way. You caught up in who I slept with. I'm caught up in what God has called me to do. Now, whether y'all want to find me guilty or not, I can't waste time on that. I got to figure out, God, do I open up the barnyards now? He does the work of the kingdom. It is. He does the work of the kingdom. I don't know who this is for. With a bad reputation. Oh my God. He does the work with his integrity, God. He still plows in the ministry when it should have been sat down. Oh my God. He still is used by God when people can't believe he still got a title. And God says, I do not call the qualified. I qualify the called. And what would have happened, preacher, reverend, evangelist, worship leader, if he would have let that mistake keep him in bondage? From what he did with one person would have blocked 3 million from being set free. I can't hear nobody in the room. He had to get past his own failures, had to get past his own past, had to get past his own problems in order to get to where God had him to be. But he had to do it with his shoes off. It's an elephant in the room. Let me be the ringmaster of Cirque du Soleil. 3 years ago, I went through a very public divorce. And I went through a public divorce from my own infidelity, not what the enemy did. I wasn't under attack. Not because somebody was jealous. Yeah, the haters didn't do it to me. Because I had a greater drive for desire than I had for duty. I began to serve me and forgot to serve him. I thought because I was the youngest televangelist in the country, preaching all over the country with Bishop Jakes and Noel Jones and with Juanita Bynum, that I could walk around with shiny shoes. Oh, and God had a meeting with me and said, take your shoes off. I don't care that you went to Morehouse. I don't care that you went to Duke. I don't care whether you went to Oxford. I want to know, who do you think you are with a stammering tongue? I need you to stand before me and realize it ain't your gift. It ain't your intellect. It's your assignment, but it ain't until you take your shoes off. Be seated, please. It's a luncheon. Be seated, please. And I'm like Moses, because I don't know who told it. It wasn't my wife talking. Pastor told me I could be real. It wasn't the woman I was with who was talking, but it began to be out on the sand dunes called the internet. I can't hear nobody in here. And I went through a place of depression where I lost 13 pounds and face got withdrawn and I couldn't even get out of the bed. My deacons had to come to the house and pull me out of the bed and say, Rev, you got to preach today. And I said, I can't face them. My face is on the front page of the paper. And they're calling my name in the barber shop and in the supermarket. I can't do this. And God asked me, who called you? Did you do this for the people, or are you doing this for me? I can still use you. So started having dates disappear and people canceling me and saying that there's no use of him. He's finished. The people who I claim I was under told me I wouldn't survive, that with my degrees I should go and become a university professor. I was in an interviewing process, Dewey, where I was the last of 2 finalists to become the president of Texas A&M University. And I was on a plane headed to my last interview to deal with my package and my phone rang. And when my phone rang, it was my biological father, not my spiritual father, my biological father, yes, who called me on the phone and said, where are you? I said, I'm on the plane. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Houston. He said, what are you going to Houston for? You got to preach? I said, no, I got an interview. He said, oh, I didn't know TBN had a studio in Houston. I said, no, ain't no TBN studio in Houston. He said, the Word Network doing something live from Houston. I said, no, it ain't that kind of interview. I'm going to become president of Texas A&M. He said, how in the world they going to let you become the president of that university and still maintain the church all the way in Baltimore? I said, Daddy, I can't keep my church in Baltimore with all of the stuff that's being said about me, with my name in the rumor mill, with my marriage now collapsed, that they saying I can't survive, that I need to resign, that I need to walk away. He said, who told you that? I